mobility problems reflect the ability of an individual to go up and down a flight of stairs, or to get up and down from a chair, to walk across a room. And those problems are actually highly prevalent among older adults. And so it's an important problem for older adults, and we can actually treat it.
In considering Mr. Dunn, he's an interesting patient in the effect that he is still very, very physically active and engaged in life. He still travels.
And we're going to be going to Cuba. We are told that Cuban hotels don't have any elevators, so this is going to be something of a challenge.
He is finding that his functional decline is impacting those things.
Well, this last trip to the headwaters of the Amazon in Peru, I certainly noticed my difficulties because I fell down twice to start with.
Falls are a major cause of injuries and disability among older adults. If we can actually prevent a hospitalization due to a fall or fall-related injury, it has tremendous cost savings.
I always joke with patients, I always say, age is not a diagnosis. I can't bill for it, I won't not get paid. So I can't put that down. We got to think of something else. Let's look at your knees, let's look at the muscles, let's look at your back, let's look at all the other pieces.
What we find with older adults is that they often have very poor core and lower extremity strength, but they also may have issues related to spinal conditions, low back pain, those types of things, which make certain functional activities difficult for them. If we can train people in functional ways, that there is a higher carryover in terms of then translating into improved function. And speed of movement is an important aspect of function that can impact an older adult in the community. For instance, you need to be able to step quickly enough to avert a fall. So as we were observing Mr. Dunn on the treadmill, he displayed a kind of a typical gait that we see for someone who is experiencing core and lower extremity weakness, sort of a trudging type gait. We attempt to measure someone's trunk extensor endurance. He was unable to even unweight his upper body against gravity. So he's really, really lost a great deal of strength.
The gait speed is a very powerful predictor of all sorts of adverse outcomes that we are concerned about in the care of older adults.
That gait speed is becoming a very, in the research, a very strong indicator of function and morbidity as people age.
In the case of Professor Dunn, his walking speed was actually relatively slow for his age and gender.
I always used in my youth to consider that I walked faster than most people, that I would pass them on the sidewalk. But over the years, now everybody passes me on the sidewalk.
And so that is this important vital sign, if you will, in the care of older adults.
I was way down the bottom 20% or something of 84-year-olds.
Roughly, you're falling in the 25th percentile of performance.
It's not very good. I didn't like that.
And when you translate that out into the community, an older adult needs to be able to, let's say, cross the street in a logical, reasonable amount of time.
Now, one thing that we've recognized through our own research is that even though people may complain of a single problem, a single site of pain, such as low back pain, generally pain tends to occur in multiple sites.
Getting up in the morning was a real agony because it just hurt a lot.
We recognize both in our clinical care and have identified through our research the same muscle groups that are involved and important for back health are also very important for mobility and successful walking skills. And so if we target those, we can cover both concerns very well.
I think oftentimes what you see with older adults is they have tight hip flexors, they have tight ankles, and you often see a kyphotic posturing. So we become very stooped and bent forward. And so we work on things to work on flexibility, to help increase the hip extensibility during the gait cycle. We work on strength, and typically in a very functional way. So we do a lot of sit-to-stands. We do a lot of step-ups. We do a lot of calf raises, and it helps open their eyes to the fact that they really do need to make some improvements.
That generally when patients come to the doctor, those conditions that they're most concerned about tend to be functional problems, because when those skills decline, that's a real harbinger for moving to an assisted living or a nursing home or requiring greater assistance.
When a 30-year-old comes and says, I'm not walking very fast, we don't say, well, that's because you're 30. When an 80-year-old says, I'm not walking very fast, it is not because of their age. Some of the disease processes might be age-related, but age alone is never the diagnosis. And it's incredibly important to remember that. Otherwise, I think providers will do a disservice if the blame for dysfunction is on age.
Focusing on mobility is a little bit of a different paradigm for healthcare providers. Generally, we are trained to look at everything through a disease model, management of heart disease, the management of diabetes. The problem for older adults is the fact that they manifest multiple conditions. And so really then it's a challenge if you choose a specific disease model as a framework to focus on their care. So if we look through the lens of mobility problems, it actually allows us to look more systematically at what are the factors that contribute to their functional decline and what are the ways we can help them best. The fact that the older adult population is the fastest growing segment of our population in society. And while they're living longer, they're not necessarily functioning better.
Because I myself have clearly changed quite a bit for the worse. But I haven't got to the point in life where I feel that that it's time to go by any means. And so I want to be able to enjoy things and enjoy things from day to day.
Decline in physical functioning is such a major concern for so many of these individuals. And the fact of the matter is that we can develop ways of preventing that, or at least compressing that to the end of an individual's life, so they can have more time living a high quality of life in their home and in their community, being active in the community.